सेव किया था ना?
मैं सिर्फ इसलिए गया था क्योंकि उसने मुझे कॉल किया, that's it. But listen तो.
Save it for someone else.
जिंदगी में सेव करना जरूरी है, मगर जब बात पैसों की हो, सिर्फ सेविंग से काम नहीं चलेगा। इक्विटी म्यूचुअल फंड्स में इन्वेस्ट कीजिए और अपने सेविंग्स को आगे बढ़ने का मौका दीजिए।
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.
If you've been reading the newspapers or watching television, you'll know that some of India's top wrestlers are staging a dharna at Jantar Mantar in Delhi. What are they protesting about? Well, they're protesting about the head of the Wrestling Federation of India, a man called Brij Bhushan Singh, who also happens to be a BJP MP. They say that Brij Bhushan Singh has sexually harassed many wrestlers over the years and that they've complained about this before. Now, I don't know Brij Bhushan Singh, but you've probably seen the video that many of us have seen on social media of a wrestler going up to him and him assaulting the wrestler, slapping him and sending him away. And you may also know that Brij Bhushan Singh has had various cases pending before the courts. Of these, 4 are still pending, and they're pretty serious cases, things like attempted murder. You will know that he has apparently admitted to having committed 1 murder. You will know, therefore, that he's not, shall we say, a completely wholesome character. What you may not know is that not only is he a BJP MP, he's supposed to be influential in at least 5 constituencies. Therefore, he is a man of some political heft. Now, normally when there's a protest of this nature, when medal winners, top wrestlers protest about the head of a foundation, there's a format to these things. The guy involved in the scandal, the man accused of the molestation or the harassment, steps down. An inquiry of some sort is set up, and if he's exonerated, which I suppose is theoretically always possible, he is allowed to come back and take his post. But for the duration of that, he steps aside. There's the other matter of what happens to him as an MP. Does he continue as an MP, particularly when these allegations are so serious? Well, we're not even considering that. We're talking only about the Wrestling Federation. And you would imagine that since the wrestlers have been saying this for a while, and we're dealing here with a pretty colorful character, to put it mildly, the government and the sports minister has been involved, would say, listen, step aside, we'll check on these allegations. Interestingly, none of this has happened. The wrestlers have not been listened to. They've gone and met the sports minister, they've met various people, and they have largely been ignored. There's been talk of asking Mary Kom to look at the allegations, of little sort of sobs given to them, which they correctly have refused. They've said that what's happening is a disgrace, that the molestation or the harassment were criminal in nature, and they've tried to register FIRs. The Delhi police have refused to register those FIRs. They had to go to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court, after listening to their allegations, finally asked the Delhi police to register an FIR. That's pretty worrying already. It gets worse. As this protest has gone on, not only has the government been completely unyielding, it has also discouraged people from coming to meet them. Journalists have been escorted off the premises by the Delhi police. People who've gone to meet them of a political bent of mind have also been thrown out. Some say they were then taken to a police station. There was a story on Thursday about how the Delhi police had instructed everybody to watch out for people coming from Haryana into Delhi to join the protests at Jantar Mantar. So essentially, it's battle stations as far as the BJP government and the police are concerned. Nobody will take these poor wrestlers seriously. Nobody will think about the medals they've won for India. Everything is about protecting Brij Bhushan Singh. Now, why? Why would any government do this? It's not difficult, is it, surely, to say that Brij Bhushan Singh is probably innocent, which is if the government seems to believe, but because of the severity of the allegations and because of the people who are leveling them, such serious allegations will be investigated and he should step down for a bit. It's not difficult, right? But they won't do that. Why won't they do that? Many explanations. The usual one is that he's so politically influential that they can't afford to risk their prospects in 5 constituencies. The other one is that he has something on leaders of the BJP, which I don't for a moment believe. And it's not, according to me, just that he's influential. He's attacked Yogi Adityanath before. He's a fairly controversial figure, even within the BJP. So why? Well, here's why. I'll tell you why. Because Narendra Modi has made it an issue of principle that if there are protests, if there are editorials, if there's a media frenzy of any kind, he will not give in. He will hold firm. There's a background to this. Do you remember how UPA 2 was destroyed by the media, by agitations? It was probably the UPA's fault in the sense that it reacted with the best of intentions in the worst possible way. Sonia Gandhi and Manmohan Singh took the line that if an allegation was leveled at somebody, that person had to step down. It could be serious allegations, for instance, the coal scam or the telephone scam, but it was not just those big ones, even little ones were a problem. Lalit Modi made allegations against Shashi Tharoor, and the government believed Lalit Modi, not Shashi Tharoor, as ironic as this now seems in retrospect, and asked Shashi Tharoor to resign. Natwar Singh was involved in some scandal whereby his son may have bought oil from Iraq at some stage. Nothing was ever proved against Natwar Singh, but his political career and a lifetime of service ended in ignominy. Now, you could argue that some of these allegations were valid, say the charges of the Commonwealth Games. Perhaps there was something in it. But you don't have to argue that because the Congress and the rest of the UPA admitted almost immediately that there was something there by asking ministers to resign. There was also the CAG factor. The CAG, as you know, invented so-called figures for the loss, the notional loss of the telephone scam. But there was no such loss. It was completely notional. Those figures have been rubbish. They have not held up. But the CAG, sensing that he had the government on the run, went out of his way again and again to level allegations of financial misappropriation. The media, having tasted blood, having realized that the government was on the defensive, went on and on about it night after night. And the government, instead of fighting back or saying, no, this is not true, made people resign again and again. There was a second factor. It was during UPA 2 that this India against corruption, in several sets of inverted commas, agitation began also in Delhi. This was a small allegation, largely a media phenomenon created by Arvind Kejriwal and their friends, some of them with good motives, but with Anna Hazare as the figurehead. The agitation would have faded away. It was a small, largely Delhi-based thing done by people who nobody had heard of. Nobody had heard of Anna Hazare outside of Mumbai or outside of Maharashtra. But the media covered it and the government gave it legitimacy. Ministerial delegations went to meet these guys who went on about a Lokpal bill that they wanted. And suddenly they were the biggest news of the day. And effectively, the UPA midwifed the birth of AAP. There was more. When Baba Ramdev came to Delhi and said he would also launch an agitation, 6 ministers went to the airport to persuade him not to do this. He went ahead anyway, the government changed its mind, and it all got very messy. The UPA lost out because of all of this, and I don't dispute for a moment that it was done with good motives. The idea was to say that we have the highest moral standards. Even the whiff of a scandal, the slightest suggestion is enough for us to drop a minister. But that's not how the public saw it. The public said, this is a government of scams. If it's not a government of scams, why have so many people resigned? If India against corruption is not one small-time media-driven operation with RSS crowds, why has the government sent so many people, so many ministers to meet it? It gave legitimacy to its critics and it validated every allegation that was leveled against its ministers, against its members. Narendra Modi saw all this. He saw that at the end of it, Manmohan Singh, who was under siege from the media, was seen as a weak prime minister. India then longed for a strong prime minister, a man whose integrity was beyond question. And hey, Mr. Modi was exactly what the doctor ordered. Having got into office, he was determined not to make the same mistakes. So if you will observe him and observe his time in office, you will note how unperturbed he is by media frenzies or by public agitations. Early in the life of his government, Sushma Swaraj was the subject of serious allegations and a huge media campaign was launched against her. The media, used to the UPA, believed that they would force her from office. Mr. Modi paid no attention. Eventually, the allegations were forgotten. It's happened time and time again whenever there have been charges against his ministers. Say somebody's son has run down protesters. Okay, fair enough. No reason for the minister to resign. It's been the leitmotif of this government, its principle: we will never give in, we will never listen. It's something like that that's saving Brij Bhushan. When Mr. Modi has been forced to give in, it's always been a cost-benefit analysis. He gave in, for instance, the farmers' agitation because the UP election was coming and he couldn't risk that, so he listened. He gave in on MJ Akbar and the sexual harassment charges because he didn't particularly like Mr. Akbar anyway, nor did anybody else in the BJP, so that was fine. But otherwise, he's been very, very unwilling to listen. He believes that he will do what he wants and he will pay no attention. And you know, it's working. Most of the charges disappear, nobody pays any attention, and he's perceived by his supporters as being a really strong leader because nobody can push him around. In that way, at least, he's the opposite of Manmohan Singh. Manmohan Singh tried to be accommodating, tried to be very moral. Mr. Modi is not accommodating, but he's above the fray. And it works, it's worked for him. That's something the wrestlers have come up against. But I think there comes a time when Mr. Modi's cost-benefit analysis is going to kick in. Is it really okay for a government that talks about women, about Beti Bachao, to be the subject of this kind of controversy? Can Mr. Modi really go to Karnataka and say, we stand for Dari Shakti, when all of this is happening? So far, at least, it hasn't affected the BJP's prospects in Karnataka, and it hasn't affected Mr. Modi's own personal popularity. But you know, it's mounting. It's coming again and again. Wags have said that Beti Bachao should be Beti Hamare Se Bachao, because there are so many BJP people who are accused of this sort of thing. I don't know. Mr. Modi has his own mind. Mr. Modi has his own calculations. And no matter what we in the media have said, it's worked for him. He's still the most popular leader in India. But I think the time has come now where some kind of cost-benefit analysis is kicking in. This has gone too far. Brij Bhushan is not worth it. Neither is Mr. Modi's image of never giving in. Perhaps we'll see something in the days ahead, or, knowing Mr. Modi, perhaps not.